Well, good morning. We have waited a long time for this day, and I'll explain a little bit more about that later on when we do our ribbon cutting. What's exciting to me here as college president is our contribution to the success of our veterans. We believe so deeply in our veterans. And it's very clear to see the turnout. I can't begin to tell you how pleased I am to see the number of people here today that are representing various organizations and groups. Some people just here because they care so deeply about our veterans. And it does take a village, it does take a community to work together to ensure that our very special students are going to be successful. Many of you know that I'm not a veteran, but I care deeply about our veterans. Many of you know that I study the Civil War, and every morning I'm up very early in the morning studying the contributions of our young men and women during that seminal period of American history. And as a result of that, it really has instilled in me a very, very strong feeling of gratitude of these individuals, these young men and these young women, and some aren't so young, but they have all contributed to who we are, the success of who we are, and I don't think we can begin to thank them for all of their contributions. But we try in a variety of ways. Now what's exciting about today for me and exciting about the college is we form a network of there's every college and university in this country is educating our veterans. Over 1 million veterans are taking classes, and for us, we have over 800 students who are veterans matriculating with us, and we have a special feeling for all of these individuals. We go out of our way for every one of our students. We want everyone to be successful, but if we can go a little bit further for our veterans, we're going to be doing that. Well, before I go further, because I always forget to do this, I do want to recognize a number of people who are with us today who are joining me in thanking our veterans and celebrating this very special event. From our Board of Trustees, we have our board chairperson. I think you all know Dorothea Smith is with us today. We have Rachel Jones with us, who is a special assistant to Senator Barbara Mikulski. We have from our Southern Maryland delegation, we have the Honorable Dr. Edith Patterson, who is one of our esteemed delegates, and another strong supporter of the college from the Commissioner Board, Commissioner Deborah Davis. Thank you. We have Thomasina Coates, who is with Delegate Susie Proctor, and she's actually her Chief of Staff. We have Terrence Taylor, who is Steny Hoyer's, on Steny Hoyer's staff. Thank you. We have Alicia Turner, who's our Student Association President. Don't want to forget about her as well. We have Gary Knight, who is a commissioner on the Charlotte Hall Veterans Commission, well, the Veterans Home. And he's representing George Owings. I think we all know George Owings, who's Commissioner of Veterans Affairs in the state and is also hails from Calvert County. We have some members of President's Council. We have Dr. Eileen Abel, Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dr. Bill Comey, Academic and Student Support Services, Rich Fleming, who is a veteran from the Air Force and who leads up the Prince Frederick campus, Michelle Goodwin, who is our Vice President for Advancement. We have some others. We have Richard Baumberger, Commander of the DAV Chapter 36. We have Rick Reed, who is the Southern Regional Resource Coordinator of the Maryland's Commitment to Veterans. We have Ronald Tufel, who's adjutant of the DAV Chapter 36. Dithea Sweat, who's first Vice President of the Charles County NAACP. We have Robin Cavallero, who supported the college with funding for a variety of ways. And finally, from our foundation, we have Evie Hungerford and her husband, Vince Hungerford, who are great friends of the college. The college, as I mentioned, really does quite a bit for its students. And I can't go much further without mentioning two individuals, and they need no introduction. You're going to be hearing from them, Bill Buffington and Mike Moses. Talk about forces to be reckoned with. There is no immovable force that they cannot move, and we are blessed truly, and the veterans are blessed to have these two individuals who are so committed to their colleagues. And I believe that we are where we are today in large measure because of their ongoing support and their hard work, and I want to thank them personally for all they do every day. They helped us stand up the Student Veterans Association, which is very, very successful. It's one of 700 across the country. Other things that we're involved with is we've added some additional personnel so that on each one of our campuses we have Veterans Affairs personnel that can work with our veterans to ensure that they're getting the services that they need. We also provide discounts. You may not be aware of this. If you're a veteran, we provide discounts to our health fitness areas at the college. And one of the things that we've done, and this really is touching, and Michelle Goodwin, I think you were actively engaged in this, but this past February, we delivered CSM Loves Our Veterans notes to every resident of the Charlotte Hall Veterans Home. That was 210 individuals. Each received a personalized note from our students thanking them for their service. So this is, you're going to hear when we actually do the groundbreaking, the journey that we were on to actually dedicate this room, and hopefully all of us will be able to walk over and see it, because it is something that we're all very proud of. Our next speaker, or our special speaker, our guest speaker, is Mr. Larry Abel, who's president, and I think you all know Larry Abel, a resident of Newburgh. Actually, I pass his house every time I go home. A very successful architect, but most importantly, president of the Maryland Veterans Museum at Patriot Park. And this is a facility, if you've not visited it, you really need to, because it is something that we should all be very proud of, and we all should be supporting. Larry?
Good morning. I'm really pleased to be here for a couple of reasons. One, I attended this institution, and I'm also a veteran. But we're here today to honor our heroes, to remember their achievements, their courage, and their dedication, and most of all, to say thank you for the great sacrifice that you made for America. As we think of the heroes who join us in this gathering of patriots today, and those who are here, only in spirit, a person can't help but be awed by the enormity of what they have sacrificed and mean to America. I'd like to first ask the service members and veterans who are here to stand. Thank you for answering the call to duty. You have made our armed forces the most respected and the greatest in the world. Now I'd like to ask the family members to stand. We have family members. We know that you have been through difficult times and often taken the heavy load to keep the home fires burning. Thank you for what you've done. Military spouses have had to endure career interruptions, frequent changes of address, and a disproportionate share of raising the children. And also, while there are no children here, I think it's important to recognize that the children have had to deal with changes in schools, separation from friends, and probably the hardest of all, wondering whether or not their mother or father is going to return from war. In 1932, thousands of World War I veterans camped out on Washington, D.C. Street Mall to petition the government for pensions and bonuses they felt they were due. Regrettably, that campsite was overrun by the U.S. Army, and at least 2 veterans were killed and others wounded. In those days, it was thought that veterans weren't due anything special. And it really was not until 1944 when President Roosevelt signed into enact the GI Bill. And it really took World War II and all the bloodshed and sacrifice of almost everybody in America. Everybody was affected. And finally, everybody recognized it was important to look out for veterans. Sometimes today, we think about the struggle of the World War I veterans and perhaps World War II veterans. And as we hear the stories of the VA and Veterans Administration and the fact that some veterans can't get appointments, others perhaps die before they can get appointments, we kind of wonder where that our appreciation is going to look out for our veterans. I would like to also just briefly mention the Maryland Veterans Museum at Patriot Park. It's kind of interesting to note that this museum was the inspiration of an African American who served in Vietnam, and in the midst of battle, he thought that wouldn't it be great if we had a place to recognize those that have served America. His name was Colonel Donald Wade. I'm sure many of you know him. And I'm here to report today that that dream has become a reality. We cover every war, from the Revolutionary War to the current Gulf War. Simply put, the museum is here to honor you. And so we honor our veterans every day, all year round. It's not just Veterans Day. We do everything that we can. We appreciate all that all of you have done, and for me, I can't duplicate the list of Dr. Gottfried, but we have delegates, we have county commissioners. The museum wouldn't be what it is without them and their support to get us to where we are. I traveled a similar journey that many of the student veterans are traveling here. No doubt some of you are struggling with the transition from a military career to a college life experience. I first attended the College of Southern Maryland in 1959. It was the second year in operation. Frankly, at that point, there was a lot of questions about whether this institution was even going to survive. But we attended the old Plata High School. We went to school at night. It's now the county office building. And I can report to you, at least some of us made success after attending there. I only went there 1 year because there weren't enough courses in the engineering program that I had to transfer to Maryland the next year. But I went to Maryland and graduated from there, and made a great transition to go to a school of higher learning. I ended up in the Navy as an officer and the Civil Engineer Corps. And that would have not been possible without my early days at what was then Charles County Community College. So my last tour of duty was the tour of duty in Da Nang, Vietnam. And at that point, I had spent 4.5 years in the military, and I'm sure as many of the students here, I enjoyed the military. I thought it was great, and sometimes when you're serving in the camaraderie of a conflict like that, it's hard for you to pull yourself out. That's what you know. And so I had to make a decision of whether to come back to college or stay in the military. But I wanted to control my own destiny, and I'm sure some of these students had to make that same kind of decision. I want to control my own destiny. It's not that I wouldn't like to continue serving in the military. If I wait another year, I might not be able to really, because of time, be a good student. So anyway, I go back to the University of Maryland, and that was in the middle of the war protest. So when you walked across the campus, you never said you were in the military. You didn't dare wear a uniform because you took your life in your hand. So there was no military club, there was no lounge. In fact, there was no camaraderie with veterans at all because nobody would say, I'm a veteran. So I think it particularly important to take this moment to applaud the College of Southern Maryland for establishing a Veterans Lounge and all the other things that Dr. Gottfried mentioned that are being done for veterans. And this will help immensely in the struggle and the transition from military life to college life. But frankly, I applaud even more the decision of the student veterans to pursue higher education here at the College of Southern Maryland. First of all, they're well equipped. Military training trained you to be true to a mission, to be dedicated, and your training has trained you to never give up regardless of the odds. And that discipline is something that no other student really has. You are the leaders here today and the leaders of tomorrow. All the veterans that have served, you've given us our freedom, security, and the greatest nation on earth. Most importantly, you've continued the American dream. It is impossible to put a price on that. I salute you for serving America, the greatest nation on earth, and may God bless each and every one of you.
To our servicewomen, our servicemen, and to your families, I say thank you. Good morning, Dr. Gottfried, our CSM family, and to all our distinguished guests. We thank you for coming out and attending this much-awaited event for Mike and I and Betty. We planned this and hope for a great turnout, hope for the value and the benefit that we bring will come through on this particular day. And we thank all of you for coming out. And you'll hear me say that probably the rest of the day because I'm so proud of putting this event on for you. The gentleman that I'm about to introduce, I first met him, in fact, he had called me. Did you call me to get a number for the lounge? And he had called me, and I came in, or gave him the number, and I came in, and he had his feet up on the desk. And I said only a Marine would do that. And true enough, he turned out to be a Marine. And I mean, there was no uniform, but I just knew it. But every day, and I'm here every day. I think most of you who know me, I'm here. I live here. I live here for the veterans and do what I can to make sure that our veterans know that I'm here to make sure that they're taken care of. But this particular gentleman, I've seen here this semester working and working and working, and the dedication and commitment that I see in all of our student veterans. But the two that are sitting here, and we have some veteran students scattered out around the room that may need to be going to class here soon. But this particular gentleman is a committed, dedicated soldier. And I would like to bring him up, introduce him to you. Lance Corporal Robert Stewart, please come up and talk to us.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I want to open up and just say I'm honored to be in such distinguished company. Bill asked me to come and speak on behalf of, the younger generation of veterans and those still serving. And I'm more than happy. I was here at the college before we had a Veterans Lounge, and I've been able to take advantage of it since it's been put in. And just let me tell you, it's such a blessing. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. Obviously, Lance Corporal, United States Marine Corps. I serve in the reserves. I'm stationed at Anacostia Bowling, for those of you who know where that is. I enlisted in the Marine Corps in December of 2013 with a goal. And my goal was to get my college degree and be something better than what I was. My goal was to commission in the United States Marine Corps as an officer. And this is all part of that goal. And coming here to the College of Southern Maryland out of the Marine Corps, it's a whole different world. And you know, you're inundated in this culture of the military life, and coming back in the civilian world is difficult. Even for me, I was only active duty for around 6 months before I came back to the reserves, and it's difficult. And I know it's much more difficult for those veterans who have served for a long time. And so that brings me to the importance of this Veterans Lounge and this Veterans Association. To be with like-minded individuals who can understand and support your cause is invaluable.
Yeah.
So when I found out that we had a Veterans Lounge in a classroom that I passed almost every day my first semester here, and it was empty. And to see something like that taken advantage of and put to good use was amazing. And to have something like that where I can walk into a room in between classes and sit with people of like mind who support my goals and know what I'm working towards. You know, us veterans here, we know that sometimes we don't exactly go the right grain with society. Sometimes we don't play well with others. And that's all right. But to be with individuals of like mind, like I said, is invaluable. I want to thank Mr. Bill Buffington and Mr. Mike Moses for making this possible, because for me personally, to be able to get out of these classrooms where I may not get along with these individuals very well, not to say that, you know, that I don't like them or anything along those lines, but to go someplace where I feel understood and accepted, and to have a quiet place, whether I just need to do homework or I need a minute to decompress in between classes. It's so invaluable to me, and I know, and I've talked to other veterans, I know how important it is to be able to take advantage of that. For the veterans throughout the generations. I represent the younger generation, but there are veterans in there of all ages. And we enjoy talking to each other, we find out where we came from, we help each other, we tutor each other. You always know that if you need help with anything, you can go there and you can find it. And again, I just want to thank Bill Buffington and Mike Moses for the opportunity to take advantage of that. And I hope that the Veterans Association here at CSM can continue to grow and be beneficial. I will be hopefully leaving here to go to the University of Maryland after next semester. And I hope that for future generations of individuals like myself who are coming into the reserves and want to go to college, and for those veterans getting out after 20 years or 30 years who just want to get their college degree, that the Association of Veterans here at CSM will continue to be beneficial to the community of veterans and continue to do what we've already started doing so well. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for allowing me to speak. I'm honored, and I hope I'll see you all around the college.
Good job, good job, good job. He made me feel old there. So I'm gonna go ahead and put him on. And I get that all the time. I was asked before I read the poem that I have for you to actually tell you a little bit about my service and my duties as a United States veteran here on campus and off campus. Some of you have seen me off campus. I stay pretty busy, but I'll just give you a few of the hats that I wear around town and here on my home, my family home. Our t-shirts, and I'll start with our t-shirts, and you'll see our shirts if you take the tour over in the lounge. It says on the front, CSM Veteran for Life, College of Southern Maryland Veteran for Life. And on the back it says, we serve. And it took some time for us to think about what we were putting on our tees, because I wanted it to mean something. And so it took us some time, and we proudly wear those t-shirts around campus and off campus. Again, U.S. Navy vet. I'm currently a full-time student. I've been here, and Dr. Gottfried, most of the administration probably know that I've been here, And I'm back again, and I say that every year. I'm back, or every semester. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been my goal to come back and get an education. It's been a challenge to come back and get an education at my age and sit in a classroom of students that are still kind of searching out futures and trying to find that path. But it's been a lot of fun because the thing that I get a chance to do is I get a chance to listen, talk, and mentor some of our students. Even though they call me Pops, old man, I don't mind that. But the fun part is I get a chance to play a small role there. Besides being a student, I am the vice president of and co-founder of the Veterans Organization. We have put in some heavy and many hours and some heavy work to get that in place for us. I am the founder of the Veterans Coffee Break at the Plata Chick-fil-A and the Waldorf Chick-fil-A. It's a setup where our veterans can come in and have coffee and tell their stories, their community stories. And we have a great turnout at both locations that come out for that. I am the Chief Executive Director of V Connections Incorporated. It's a nonprofit veteran resource entity here in the community serving our veterans of Southern Maryland and their families. Families, and I address families, our veterans and their families. I'm a husband and father. My lovely wife is here in the back, and she probably want me to put those things in another order. That's what I wear, but she's here. I'm a writer and a published poet. I'm honored to say that I received the 2015 NAACP writing competition in January and was presented the award at the Martin Luther King Prayer Breakfast. And that's a big place in my heart. I was very honored with that award. And I love to serve. I love to serve. The poem that I'm about to present is a poem that was published in the Connections Literary Magazine, which is a College of Southern Maryland magazine that we get a chance to submit pieces, different writings, photos, a great magazine. If you hadn't had a chance to see it around campus, we do have them laid out, and I probably have 30 copies in the car. So you need one, I'll get you one. But this poem that I came up with, and it took me some time to come up with this poem because I wanted it to say something that we hear, but I wanted it to be something that the veterans and their families could carry around with them and pick it up and read it and pass the word on. This poem echoes pain, despair, fear, anger, questions, frustrations, and the present. You'll also find history in this short poem. And as I read it to you, think. It's called A Soldier's Reality. The darkness I walk in, the fog that hangs over me daily, something you will never understand. But you think you know me. The freedom you have is mine because I fought for it. And you have the nerve to ask me to face reality. Real to me is the buddy I left behind, the stories I will never be able to tell, a living hell of unexplained. Now that I'm home, I find myself missing, and you have the nerve to ask me to face reality. Where are the promises that were made? The apple pie in Chevrolet, my 40 acres and my mule. Where is my freedom? I guess I'll find it when I face your reality. Thank you for your service.
Again, thank you. Good morning. Thank you so much for coming out. Service, loyalty, courage, and honor. Today, the College of Southern Maryland La Plata Veteran Organization celebrates Veterans Day to honor those who have served our country, home and abroad. My brothers and sisters, you served the country, and now we serve you and honor you this month of November. Thanks to the efforts of the Southern Maryland President Dr. Gottfried, his staff, campus facilities, space committee, for our new designated space called the lounge, Vets Lounge. Several years ago, I had a dream at the College of Southern Maryland to house a veterans lounge to honor the veterans who attend the College of Southern Maryland. During that time at the beginning, I met two individuals, Bill Buffington and Betty Jackson. We all shared the same idea, the same dream to initiate something called the Veterans Lounge. Over the years, though, there were trials and tribulations, but today, we have arrived. We have arrived at the doors at the College of Southern Maryland's library, which houses the Veterans Lounge downstairs. During the process, we had an individual, Betty. She was the thinker. She was the one who analyzed everything. When we had ideas, we wanted to do certain things, she would say, no, we're going to do it this way. So she was the overseer of all of us. And sometimes it was difficult because we always sat down and we had to look up to her. It was very difficult, but it was all good. Bill was our internal person, smart as a whip when it came to finance. He was also the communication rep, for Bill went to every crack and crevice on his campus. He had a sleeping bag under his arm on one arm, and the other arm he had his books. He stayed here ongoing on a daily basis. He was a spokesperson for the veterans to find out what was going on, what you really feel like, what do you need, how can we do this? Bill also initiated a bi-weekly meeting on campus, whereby we could talk to the veterans at the College of Southern Maryland so we could actually analyze and see what was going on, not only on campus, but off campus as well. Bill initiated, as he mentioned earlier, 2 locations in Plata and Charles County of Chick-fil-A, where he met and had the veterans of the College of Southern Maryland meet the seasoned veterans from Vietnam, Korea War. They exchanged ideas. We helped them actually analyze what was going on. Between the temporary lounge, Bill would always have rap sessions here in the corner, debates. He would always be arguing back and forth. Sometimes I could see Bill when I rode by, he would be locking the gate on the outside. As time went on, Bill and I and Betty, we sat down and said, you know what, we need to do a little bit more than what's going on. We need to know these veterans. So Bill remained on campus, but I made an effort to initiate veteran outreach programs and partnerships with numerous organizations to assist the College of Southern Maryland veterans in hopes in order to gain more information on their everyday needs. We knew that the veterans really had issues and they needed more help than what we could actually supply. At that time, I went to organizations such as DAV, Purple Heart, Bronze Star, VFW, and the Tri-County Veterans Affairs Council, all who took in consideration a special interest in the College of Southern Maryland veterans. I met and spoke with team leaders at the Prince George's County Vet Center who agreed to continue supplying counselors for the PTS counselors at need be necessary at any location of the College of Southern Maryland. I met with the veteran employment representatives, Al Crowley, and specialist disabled veteran outreach programs and other individuals of that nature to help understand the transitioning of veterans who had to go through their trials and tribulations while at the campus of Southern Maryland. It's difficult sometimes when a veteran sits in class and he's thinking about what he has to deal with when he goes home. So Bill and I and Betty, we made an effort to let them understand we got your back. No matter what goes down, we'll have your back. As time went on, we also sat down on a bi-weekly basis and met with people, the directors and coordinators from the Southern Maryland Center of Independent Living, Lifestyle, Tree Oak Center for the Homeless, Battle Buddies, Point of Time and Support, and other organizations of that nature because we knew that we had veterans who were homeless. Even though they were taking classes at the College of Southern Maryland, we knew they had issues and problems. We also dealt with the possibilities of bringing in outside help for female veterans. Betty Jackson, she actually sat down and communicated with several female organizations to bring them into the college so we could have somebody, because when females begin to talk to male veterans, it forms a little difficult. And sometimes we had to leave the room because we couldn't handle it, so we asked for outside support from female organizations to come in. Also, the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Mr. Owens, he took a lot of consideration. He was really annoyed to find out that we had no veteran representation when it came to compensation and claims. So he initiated a move with the Regional Office of Veterans Affairs to have a counselor assigned to the College of Southern Maryland upon graduation in January of 2016. Well, the Tri-County area will have 6 additional what they call VSO officers to supply the needs and necessary of the veterans who are filing claims. I also had a meeting with the state troopers and the sheriff's office to make sure that everything it goes good. Once a veteran leaves the campus, I wanted to know the policies and procedures just in case a veteran was stopped on the road, that he would understand, that both parties would understand that there may be a PTSD problem here, and what is the policy, what is the procedure? So you need to help us with this. So they sat down, they said, well, Mike, let's go to the drawing board, and let's make up more rules and regulations or emphasize the policies and procedures we have so everybody, all parties and concerned, would know what was going on. As I indicated before, we have one of our newest organizations that came on board to join with us to help us on the side. It's called Boost the Heels, which is the female organization that I had mentioned earlier. They, in turn, will come on board as well as the Bronze Star, the Gold Star, and the Purple Star. We also are working with the school board because there are children in our schools today whose parents on a continuous basis are called overseas for reemployment. Sometimes those kids are in classes and they're kind of rough. It's kind of rough. They have problems, they're mad, they have an attitude. So we have to form an attitude around that as well because we have veterans here whose kids are in school and they have some issues. So we have to focus in on that. So Betty, Bill, and I, we had our hands full 24/7. And we also instituted a program where we're working with individuals who have been incarcerated. There are a lot of smart veterans in our area who have been incarcerated. What drew our attention was a young man who just committed suicide this past month in July. He got picked up, he was a veteran, he got picked up for drunk driving. They told him he had to have a $100 bail the next day. When they went back to the cell, he hung himself, just for $100. So we're emphasizing, we're kind of focusing on that as well. So we have a lot of projects going on, but the lounge itself are the 4 walls we need to meet these people so they can come. So sometimes when the veterans are out and they have classes, in between classes, they can go and make an appointment, they can sit down and talk. So there's a lot of programs we have developed. We have made a lot of effort to reach out and help our veterans. So when they come to your class, when they come to the classes, College of Southern Maryland, they have no problems. They can study, they can pass their tests, and they can make everything good to go. So with that, I say thank you to all of you who have come out today to celebrate the Veterans New Lounge. It's kind of small, it's kind of tight, but that's okay. It makes us more as a family. We're tight, we're a unit. Thank you very much.
Well, excuse me, our next activity is to actually dedicate the lounge, to cut the ribbon. But I forgot to mention one thing, and many of you who know me know that I don't care about awards, I don't care about accolades. But there was one recognition that the college did receive last year and again this year. It's the 2016 Military Friendly School designation from Victory Media. Only 15% of the colleges and universities in the country have received this designation, and we're very proud of it. And I did want to mention that. And also, I'm sitting there and I'm listening to Bill and I'm listening to Mike and I'm saying, wow, because I know a little bit of what they're doing, but holy cow, what an amazing group. And I want to add Betty Phillips-Jackson to that group. We are truly blessed as a society, and it's not just obviously our veterans, it's all of us. We're all in this together. And I want to thank Bill, I want to thank Mike, I want to thank Betty for all that they do every day to help our veterans. Thank you so very much. I also want to mention just quickly, because there is somebody, I don't know if he's still here or not, Dr. Bill Comey, who should take some recognition as well. When the idea came up about a lounge, and as I mentioned, Betty, Mike, and Bill were persistent, as they should have been. And one thing I always tell my children is, push. If it means something, push. Problem is there's never enough space. There's never enough rooms, never enough classrooms. And I finally said to Bill, you know, we really do need to do something. And it needs to be as substantive as it can be. Over and above personnel and programs, can we find a space? So he spent time looking for space. As you'll see, it's not the biggest space. It was a classroom that was utilized. A determination was made that we could forego that classroom. And we put a smart podium, we put lounge chairs, we put tables, we put computers. And who knows what that might build to in the future as it continues to grow. But it's our recognition that this is such an important function for us, and even though we don't have the space, we have to find the space. And the challenge is, Prince Frederick, Leonardtown, we need to do it there as well. So what we're going to do right now, hopefully you can all join us, because there's a lot of joy and there's a lot of excitement, is we're going to walk over to the Learning Resources building. It's just a little bit down the road, and we're going to actually cut the ribbon for this very, very special facility. So please join me.